Let's talk about why it's not too late for you to start investing today. On Women in Wealth, we're going to be talking about the power of compound interest. Welcome back to Women in Wealth. We are continuing our investing season. I'm Alison Frasca. I'm a wealth advisor at Capita Financial Network, and I'm with Katie Brinkerhoff, who is also a wealth advisor at Capita Financial Network. And this is all purely educational. We're just trying to help you guys learn more about finance and investing. Please like and subscribe. If there's anything else that you guys want to learn about, drop it in the comments below. And also tell us how surprised you are by today's information, because we're pretty pumped about it.
I love that's exactly right. It's funny. We had done some notes and some scripts before this, and last night I was reviewing them, and I seriously read it. Like, I do this all day. I've been doing this for 13 years. I know about compound interest, but when I read the numbers behind it, I'm like, really? Like, the math must be wrong. Like, this can't be how it works. So we're always surprised when we run these numbers. It's just fun to see, and we want it to be motivating and inspiring for you to go start today investing, because it's not too late. Like Alison said, there is always time on your side when it comes to investing because of the compound effect of interest. And so I'm going to dive right into an example. This won't be too long of a video today. We're just going to talk through a couple of examples of how this works. Hopefully that inspires you to start, and knowing that even if you have $1 to invest, that's where you should start. Just an example of how compound interest works. So I guess I'll take one step back and explain that there is something called simple interest, and there's something called compound interest. Simple interest means that it never multiplies like this compound interest does. So we're going to ignore that today. We're just talking about when it's compound interest. And how it works is that in this example, you have $10,000. You put it into a CD that makes 5%. What happens is that the first year you get $500 from that. So now you have $10,500. But that new amount, $10,500, now gets 5%. So the first year you get $500, but the second year you actually get $525, and then just multiplies after that. So it's amazing. It's exponential how it works when it comes to compound interest. And that's why time in the market is so critical, because the longer it's in the market, the more it can grow.
Right. And even inside of markets or within markets, it's rare that interest is just like a flat 5% each year. Markets kind of go up and down over time, but the reason why investing works is historically what we've seen is even with market downturns, if you look at like 2008, the dot-com bubble, even 2022, more recently, even with those market downturns, the market still continues to trend upward over longer periods of time. So that's why the power of compound interest, even when we're using a simple example, still applies within the realm of market investments. But that's why oftentimes if you look at a projection graph for an investment strategy, you'll see that it kind of trends upwards instead of just being a flat line. Because just like you said, if you're earning 5% on 11,000, that's more than 5% on 10,000, and it just continues to go up. So like you said, this is why time in the market is so critical. I would say probably more important than most other factors of investing. So we're going to give an example. We're going to talk about the difference between investing $500 a month if you start at 20, 30, 40, or 50 years old. So some assumptions that we're using on the back end, we're assuming a interest rate of 7% for all of the examples. We're also assuming that you're retiring at 65, and that's when we're pulling the final number. And then also that you're starting with $0 in the bank. So I would say this is a good kind of frame of reference for starting your retirement savings. $500 a month is roughly about 10% of your income if you make $60,000. It's about 5% of your income if you make $120,000. So that's some frame of reference of what this example could be related to. But the difference between starting at 20 and starting at 50 is huge. And that's why this is one of my favorite things to like review with clients and a favorite exercise to go over, because sometimes I'll have clients bring in their kids that are in their 20s, and then we look at it for their situation, and it surprises them and me every time. Like, it's just, I think this is one of the biggest motivating factors for investing. So let's talk about it. So let's say, for example, that you start at 20 years old. You're starting with $0. You're investing $500 a month. we're assuming a 7% return. Obviously, that's not realistic for what markets actually do. It's not going to be an even 7% every year, but this is just for the point of comparison, different time in the market. So you're starting at $20, $500 a month. You're retiring at 65. So in 45 years, if you start at 20 years old, you could end up with about $1.7 million, which sounds insane, only investing $500 a month. But that's the power of compound interest. And we'll throw these up on the screen so you can see them as well. We just ran this on investor.gov, their compound interest calculator. And you can see the upward trend of that graph. So by the time you get closer to the end, by that time, you're earning 7% on $1 million, which is a lot more significant than at the beginning when you're earning 7% on $10,000. So 1.7 in 45 years. Let's say you start at age 30, then you have 35 years, same exact starting factors and everything else is exactly the same. The end result is about $830,000. So it's a pretty significant difference just for 10 more years of investing. And then as we work our way back, let's say 40, you start at age 40, then same exact example, it's about $380,000. Or if you start at 50 and you only have 15 years to invest, it ends up with about $150,000. So it's a difference of, what is that, $1.5 million or more with that extra 30 years of investing. Even if you contributed the exact same amount, you just started at a younger age. So it's crazy. I personally like just running this on investor.gov just to motivate people to see, like, this is what the power of investing is, and the power of compound interest. And I would encourage you to run it for your own situation and see the difference between if you start now, if you start in 5 years, if you contribute 5% or 10% of your income, how that impacts trajectories. Obviously, it's not a guarantee you're going to have exactly $1.7 million at the end or at your retirement age, but it gives you a point of comparison to see what difference does it make if I contribute more or if I start earlier. So that's just another reason we say, even if you feel like you don't have the money to invest, start with $5. It always helps to start because the longer you're in, the better potentially you'll do. Obviously, no guarantees. But
yeah, one other factor that I see this really commonly apply to is that if you feel or find that you're underfunded for retirement, there's some levers you can pull, right? You can increase how much you're saving. One massive lever to pull is postponing retirement by a couple of years, because as you could see, the last few years of of accumulating assets are when you'll have the most growth because you have the most assets to accumulate at that point. And so if you find you may be underfunded, pull the lever of what if I worked for 3 more years? What does that look like? We find that a lot of the times there's other factors you can do, other levers to pull. But if you want us to run these numbers for you too, we can run the numbers. Sometimes it does make sense to work longer. Sometimes it makes sense to just pull the trigger and retire. If you have any questions or want to follow along as we create more things that hopefully will help you guys in your journey of becoming more educated in finances, then like and subscribe and follow along.
And just to reiterate, this is purely educational in nature. It's not meant to be advice. If you do have specific questions about your situation, feel free to reach out to us, and thanks for tagging along.